right, check, check. Well, hello if you're watching live on YouTube. We have round 9 of the SRL Season 9. It is the Spanish Grand Prix. It's Brian here with you. Bright and early morning for me in Texas. The last SRL race before a bit of a winter break here. Lots of opportunities during qualifying today. Jensen Randall going to be another favorite. But some high-level racers not going to be in today. And it is a circuit here, Barcelona, Catalonia, that has had some fireworks in the past in SRL. Last year's podium, Tin Ventink, Logan Oren, Nicolo Falzaresi returning today. The return of Jure Marusic. We'll see him racing for the Red Bull. And we'll do our best here to get all the track data we need. We'll see who goes out first. A track just under 3 miles long. Someone already out there. There we are. It is the Haas of Pablo Baz. Spanish driver, reserve driver. His compatriot, Noah Rosso Abia, now a full-time driver for Alfa Romeo. But as he comes around turn 5 into turns 6, 7, and 8 here very quickly. And then around turn 9, which can be flat out in qualifying trim. Keep it in 6. It's uphill, so you won't over rev. And then one of my least favorite parts of this track where I always lose it. Turns 10, 11, and 12, the long right-hander of turn 12. And then don't forget, no chicane now. As Pablo comes around turn 14, maybe a slight lift in quali trim. Here he goes for his first qualifying lap. Pablo Baz coming in, maximizing track width. You see maybe a little too far, a little bump. Gonna lose a bit of traction there, a bit of time. Comes around the long right-hander of turn 3 into a bit of a straight before turn 4. The McLaren in front of him might have to give way shortly. Want to be careful on the exit here. Keeps it clean. And then we just went through the common overtaking zones here at the circuit at Barcelona, Catalonia. And you see going to invalidate just a bit too far there. I believe that was the exit of turn 8, the entry of turn 8. So we'll go to George Wilkes, who's just starting his lap. Welcome back to the races for George Wilkes in the AlphaTauri. Going to be teaming up with Jesper Limpinen today, the British driver. Get around the Williams there as he exits turn 3. The Red Bull helmet there for George Wilkes as Nicola Falzaresi, of course, with the fastest lap, 1:11.2. The Mercedes off track early here. It's a difficult turn 5. 7 and 8 here. Again, similar to Pablo Baz, a little bit too much on the apex there of turn 8, but no invalidation here for George Wilkes. And now the tricky turn 10. The exit here can be easy to invalidate. And then the often late apex, sometimes double apex of turn 12. It's a flat out turn 13 and a slight lift here as you hear in turn 14. So George Wilkes going to have one on the board. It's a 1:12.7, going to be looking to improve, but always good to have one on the table early on. And we'll go to the commission himself. Sandro Dulis, the Greek driver in the Ferrari livery. Going to finish up Sector 3 here shortly. Logan Orn, the 1:11.3. Jagerstrom, the Danish driver, 1:12.1. And Dulis going to get ready here. Slight lift, keeps it in 7th through turn 14. Just slightly different strategy than George Wilkes. Here he goes. That's Jenson Randall. Of course, the 1:10.9, already a 1:10 on the board. Dulis around 1 and 2. And here on turn 3, that's where you want to let the car drift naturally. Wide there. Get the revs up. Let the car upshift. Get back outside here for the slow turn 5. Perhaps some overtaking opportunities there later in the race. Straighten it out here as you get into 6. And be careful there. Turn 7 and 8, you don't want to hit those yellow curbs. Nicely done through the flat out turn 9. Get back outside, ready for turn 10, a purple sector 2 for Sandro Dulis. There you go. That's again, for me, a tricky turn 12, a long right-hander. But from here, slight lift. Back on the power. Get it across the line. Going to be a 1:11.6. Good enough for P5. As since we last checked in, Eric Halhersma and the McLaren put in a 1:11.6. Just 1,000th of a second faster than Sandro Dulis. And Vincenzo Torre, a 1:12 to move ahead of Jägerström. The Portuguese driver here, Ivan Brito, on his outlap around turn 9. He and the Spanish, now full-time driver, Noel Rossavia, still times to put up on the board as Marisic, Ventink, and Boz currently in the pits. No times yet. The Mercedes driver on the long straight here in Barcelona. We'll get started. Going to try to get the car on as much of that red and white as possible. And almost a little chicane here, a little bit higher speed than the ones that the Barcelona track is known for. Looks like maybe a bit of marbles out there that were kicked up by Brito. Coming around turn 5 here. You're going to get pretty slow down into 2nd. Maybe upshift into 3rd. Flat out turn 9. We'll see where he is finishing sector 2 here as he goes into 10 and 11. 51.2 through the first 2 sectors for Ivan Brito. Maximizing the track limits there. And in that curve you typically want to avoid, he does. Maybe slightly missed the apex there, did Brito, on turn 14. But he's still solid 1:12.7, very close to George Wilkes and Limpinen there. Go to the winner of last year's Spanish Grand Prix, Tim Ventink, as he gets the car warmed up in the Alpine. It's going to be on the power. We'll see where he can get his time here on the board. And as you see, we've got a full grid today. Always exciting. Going to be some good racing here at the Spanish Grand Prix. A nice technical track, kind of an all-rounder track. You get a little bit of everything. It's the downshifts to get around turn 5 for Ventink. And then just a quick couple downshifts into 4th for turns 7 and 8. Get that car as straight as possible. Ventink about to finish sector 2. I believe that's slightly faster than the time we saw while we were following Ivan Brito. 2 more turns for him. We'll see where he ends up. Nice turn 14. 1:12.6 for Tim Ventink. And you see groups of drivers very closely grouped together here. You've got Jensen Randall and then Nicolo Falzaresi, Logan Oren just behind 1:11.2, 1:11.3. And you look at currently P4 through, you could go to P8 really. Elgarisma all the way to Jägerstrom. About a 1/10.5 between them. And then our Spanish drivers, very close to each other. We'll go to the Red Bull driver, the return of Jure Marisic, the Dutch driver in the Red Bull. He'll pick up a little bit of gravel. So Marisic only just recently able to get into F1 23. And if you're watching SRL, I'm sure you've played around with some of the F1 games. You know the traction in 23 much improved over 22. So likely still some adjustments for Marisic from 22 to 23. And the tires will be a bit damaged there, picking up gravel. But Marisic will still want to put a time on the board. I think the majority of our grid going to be in the 111, low 112s. That's the turn that always gets me. The exit of turn 10, I feel like I either just completely miss my exit or I oversteer and lose control. Marisic going to go into the pits, maybe get a fresh set of tires. We'll need to put a time on the board. We do have the Danish driver, Jamie Jägerstrom, coming around, going to finish up Sector 3 and look to improve on the 111.8 that he's got on the table. So tight, the timing board right now, that a 1/10 of an improvement for Jägerstrom would shoot him up to P6. I say that, but now it would only be P7, as I believe that was Vincenzo Torre putting in the quick lap. Maybe a bit of a moment there for Jägerstrom. You saw the nose of the car going a little bit further left than I think he was intending, but it was a purple Sector 1 for Jägerstrom. Comes around. Couple quick downshifts. Want to keep it straight here coming out of turn 7. We're on the flat out of turn 9 and qualifying trim. DRS open. A 50.3 for Jägerstrom. He is flying through. Looks to improve on his time. He's locked in. Perhaps track evolution helping him out here too. He's going to come around the last turn, turn 14. Certainly going to be an improvement. A 111.5, 3/10 for the young Dane. It's going to shoot him up to P4. Well ahead of Vincenzo Torre. Sandwiched about symmetrically between the American Logan Orand and the Haas. And the Italian Vincenzo Torre in the Mercedes. So a nice lap for him. He's at the top of the table, but we haven't followed Jensen yet in qualifying. As he gets the tires up to temperature, we'll go on board with him. See what a lap of Jensen Randall around the track here at Barcelona looks like. We'll make way for the Alpine, for the Alpha. And he's going to complete Sector 3 here shortly. Going to want full speed coming out of turn 14. But he's already got 3/10 up on Falzaresi in second place right now. And here he goes, full throttle. We'll see what Jensen Randall can do. Our points leader, now full-time driver, straddling that curb. Into turn 3 here, the long right-hander. Gets out wide. Purple sector 1 by 9 thousandths for Jensen Randall. He's going to be catching up to the Alpine and Alpha. We saw him let pass him through sector 3 on his outlap. It'll come up on turn 9. After that straight, he'll finish sector 2. See where he's at. He was up 9 thousandths on his best at the end of sector 1. Gains quite a bit more time here. About a half tenth for Jensen Randall. As this is all happening, oh, and that looks like maybe a bit of blocking. Jensen going to go into the pits. And perhaps a couple love taps from Jensen Randall. That certainly looked like an improvement. I think Jensen would have been comfortably in the 110.8 region. Going to be difficult for Jensen to get out in time for another lap. But right now, still on pole position. It's Vincenzo Torre we're with now, the Mercedes driver on the outlap, getting the tires up to temperature. One of the stronger qualifying performances that I can remember from Vincenzo here. All of our drivers, it's very tight in time trials as they were practicing. Lots of low 111s. Jensen Randall content with the 110.9. Even Brito content with the 112.3. But Vincenzo going to want to put a little bit more space between him and Algarisma. A tenth and a half to catch Yerstrom might be difficult, but he's going to give it a shot here. This is as good as the track is going to be for him. Plenty of clean air in front. Coming around Repsol here. And one of the slower turns down into the second for turn 5. Want to be early on the power, upshift if you need to. As straight as you can through 7 and 8. And now through sector 3. About a tenth and a half behind his fastest, but all reps are good reps before a 33-lap race here. And Vincenzo Torre, his last lap of qualifying, definitely goes wide there, but that's all right. I think it was unlikely to be an improvement on his already very good 111.6. Logan Oren going to abandon this lap. So Logan Oren will not improve on the 111.3. Yerstrom, meanwhile, going to go into the pits, will not improve on the 111.5. So it's Sandro Dulis. About even with his best. You see there 36 thousandths slower than his fastest lap, but that can easily be made up unless you lose it on the exit of turn 12. And I mentioned turns 10, 11, and 12. For me, easily the most difficult parts of the track, where I always would lose it in the time trial mode, prepping for this race myself. So Dulis will not improve on the 111.6. So essentially P1 through P7, really P8, no improvements. Koivuniemi abandoning his last lap, so no improvements there. And when it's all said and done, a rather uneventful last few minutes of qualifying, as the top half of the grid saw no changes. So Jensen Randall, opportunity to improve on the last lap we saw. A little bit too much traffic, but ultimately not going to matter. Nicolo Falzaresi, the Italian, right behind him in P2, and Logan Oren, the American, in the Haas 111.3 in P3. And we'll wait for everyone to finish up, and then we'll get into the Spanish Grand Prix here. Going to be 33 laps. One of the favorite courses here, favorite weekends for SRL. But a site we're getting fairly accustomed to in Season 9. It's going to be Jenson Randall on pole. Nicola Falzaresi up there in the first row with him. Logan Orr and Jamie Yearstrom. You see Koivuniemi there in P9. I'm sure looking to improve. Last year's winner, Tim Ventink. Lots of work to do as well. Meanwhile, coming back for the first time this year, the driver, Jure Maricic. So plenty of storylines as we get into the race. We'll see what turn 12 does to folks with a full tank in race conditions. I expect a bit of contact around turn 5. I think the slowest turn of the course, and I expect a lot of lapses in concentration to come into play on the exit of turn 10 and trying to nail that apex of turn 12. I think Sector 2, the only one that's going to be fairly straightforward today. That long DRS straight after turn 14 up to turn 1, I think an ideal overtaking zone. And let's get as much data as we can here while they go on the formation lap. There you see it. The top 2 rows on the hard compound tires looking to extend. P5 through P8 medium, and then kind of a smattering of hard compound and medium. Christian Dorman, Tim Ventink, Sky Schundelmeyer, Jure Maricic, your soft runners to start. Quite a few safety cars the last few weekends at SRL, so depending on if and when they come, the tire compound has really come into play. A bit of rain last time in round 8 at the end of the race at Red Bull Ring. Not really enough to necessitate the intermediate tires, but enough that some drivers took that risk. This man in P3, one of them went to the intermediate tires. Really, I think the only one to do so in the top half of the grid. Didn't pay off for Logan Orand, but will be looking to bounce back today. Second place finisher last year at the Spanish Grand Prix for SRL. We're going to have Jenson Randall come into position on the grid on pole. The green Aston Martin in position. We'll wait for those 5 red lights here at the Spanish Grand Prix. If you've never seen before, don't think Sandro Dulis, Yearstrom, Limpinen, and Brito got up to no good. Always a bit of fun at the start of a race in F1 23. The table will sort itself out, but the lights are on. The revs are up for Jenson Randall here in Barcelona, and we're off. Clean getaway for Jenson. Logan Orand already up into P2, it looks like. He does have the advantage of being on the outside going into turns 1 and 2, but of course a bit of a chicane, so going on the outside early gets you on the inside for the second turn. Nico able to get back up into P2. But as we've seen so much, Jenson Randall able to create a gap early on. Comes around as we go into turn 5. Could be some fireworks here. Cold tires. a slow turn. Everyone looks to have gotten through just fine, although Koivuniemi, and I believe that was Yearstrom, going too wide into turn 6. Turn 9 may not be as flat out as you were used to. Full tank of gas, cold tires, and indeed that's Yearstrom going wide. Vincenzo Torre taking advantage, going to get through. And now Yearstrom going to find his way through by Koivuniemi, as the top 4 have really pulled away now. There's a little bit of chaos in the middle of the pack. It is tightly contested here. The Danish driver Yearstrom at a tire disadvantage to Vincenzo Torre, the Italian driver in the Mercedes behind him. So Torre, Dulis, George Wilkes, drivers in this part of the pack who are going to be looking to make moves on the medium compounds. As always, the game happy to give you some possible race strategies. It never works out that way in SRL races, I feel. Things starting to settle here. Seems like a yellow flag in Sector 2. Vincenzo Torre seems to have found himself facing the wrong direction. He's able to drive away. But not so for Luke Smith and Dion Stahl. And we have our first VSC on lap 2. We never got to DRS. And now it's Vincenzo Torre, unable to fully drive away, and it is a full safety car. We'll kind of check on the cars. It is Christian Dorman going in. Hard to tell from this angle, but I believe some wing damage for him. Speeding in the pit lane for Sky Schundemeyer. No automatic pit stops in SRL this season. So a full grid for about a lap and a half. And then what's becoming a common appearance lately in SRL, the full safety car. So Sky Schundemeyer coming out of the pits, currently in turn 3. He'll have to catch up to the group before the safety car will come in. My guess is we'll get back to racing at the start of turn 5. Excuse me, lap 5. But those tires, if they had finally gotten up to temperature, you'll have to get them back there. You see Algarisma in the orange McLaren doing his best to keep them warm. So many of the last few races at SRL, it's really been about, if you're at the top, just create a gap, avoid the incidents early on, keep it as clean as you can, and then about the middle third of the race, once things start to settle, it gets a little bit easier to navigate. And it appears the pack is back together. So my prediction, the safety car coming in. And we never had DRS in the race, as the safety car happened in the middle of lap 2. So a few more laps to go still until DRS comes into play. And it will be a big factor here between turn 14 and turn 1, that long straight here in Barcelona. Good moment to discuss the standings. Jensen Randall, despite starting the season as a reserve, has 53 points. He's at 140 points in the driver's standing. Logan Ornd and Alexei Koivuniemi tied for P2 at 87. Koivuniemi, it's really just been about consistency. He's got 2 podiums this season compared to 4 for Logan Ornd, and Logan does have a win. But Koivuniemi able to avoid a lot of incidents and always just seemingly up there. P4, P5, P6 finishes. Nicolo Falzaresi in P8 in the standings with a win, but of course he has not been racing the entire season. Safety car's in. We'll see when Jensen wants to restart this race. He's coming around turn 14. And we'll wait to hear those revs. There they are. We're racing again here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Jensen Randall getting us restarted. The safety car on lap 2. We'll see how long we go. Jensen going defensive there. But Nicolo Falzaresi really taking the outside. The only issue with taking the outside that wide on turn 1 is you're going to be compromised onto turn 2 if there's traffic next to you. Now Nico looks like he's going to have the overtake and defense of P2 over El Garzma, but he certainly made an attempt there. You see a lot of too wide turn 5s there. As we're here with Logan Ornd, maybe a little bit of gravel there coming around turn 8. As he's got the McLaren in front of him that he's looking to take on, although the gap increasing. Logan Ornd is on the hard compound. Tires going to be cold after the safety car. Tim Ventink and George Wilkes coming around turn 12. Some incidents there during qualifying, but it's Tim Ventink getting around George Wilkes. Jensen Randall with the 115. We haven't really had a full speed lap yet. The only 2 lap times that have really been put on the table for fastest lap are start of the race and now a restart. So not really representative. Jensen Randall continuing to increase the gap. He's at 0.6 up at the top. Meanwhile, Tim Ventink has really been on the move here on the soft compound. He's got Sandro Dulis in his sights now. Here he comes. It is a DRS zone, although we don't have DRS yet, but this is another area to look out for once we get back to racing with DRS available. Dulis, the lap times for the Greek driver in time trial. Oh, and going wide, that is the AlphaTauri of George Wilkes. And I guess enough damage. We're going to see another safety car. We saw it following Tim Ventink in the background. You saw George Wilkes in that blue and white AlphaTauri just go wide into the gravel. And then from there, unfortunately, the car has to be retired, the DNF. And it was that Sector 3 that has been troublesome early on. In the safety car, it's hard for me to tell. Are we? It seems like we're racing full speed, but not quite. But the safety car is about to be passed by, I believe it's the AI in control of Jura Marosic. Now the safety car seems to have come to a stop, so maybe we're racing at full speed. It's hard to tell. We'll continue as if that is what's happening. So Nico goes a bit wide there on turn 10. We'll go on board with Jensen. Yeah, he's into fifth gear here, and then he's going to go into the pit. So I guess it is a safety car. Nico continues on. He's only in fifth, so clearly the limiter is in effect here. Or maybe not. We saw him go into 8, which tells me we're racing full speed. I'll be curious to see if these drivers see that safety car here on the lead up into turn 5. We'll go on board with Nico. And there indeed is the safety car. And that safety car impeding the young Italian driver. And I think we have caught up to the safety car. It's now officially a safety car here on lap 8 of the Spanish Grand Prix. A first for me in F1 23 to see that happen. Well then, I'm not sure if any of those were overtakes during a safety car. It's unfortunate that I believe George Wilkes, the understandable in this situation, but still rare DNF due to an incident on a safety car, and now the safety car is coming in. Well, a nice, fun little detour for the safety car. You wonder if maybe he took a wrong turn and got on track by accident, but now it's going to be Nicolo Falzaresi dictating when we restart. And Nico's opened it up. We're restarting again. Bit of a strange occurrence there. Jenson Randall did pit. He's in P15 currently on the freshest tires, him and Tim Bentinck. And coming around is the McLaren. Going to have the outside onto turn 2 for Elgarsma. Can be difficult to make a late move there for that reason. Almost looks like the McLaren got the back end away from him just slightly. Pablo Baz in the Haas here, looking to make some moves up into P5. And he has the Finnish driver Aleksi Koivuniemi in his sights. Very close to the diffuser of Koivuniemi. Sandro Dulis behind them. Our medium runners, you wonder if the medium's starting to fall off here. Give way to the hard compound. As Dulis losing just a couple hundredths there to Pablo Baz. Jenson Randall making his way up. He started in P15. He's already up into P10. He does have the freshest tires. He did until Jägerström, who had pitted at the end of that safety car, unfortunately. But now it's Jenson Randall with the Red Bull of Nick Van Gelder in front of him. On the fresh compound, even with the restart, another fastest lap for Jenson Randall, but still no true full speed racing fastest lap time set. Go up to the Finnish driver in the Aston Martin. Coming around turn 4 here, Repsol curve. Sandwiched by the Haas drivers of Logan Oren and Pablo Baz. We'll see what Koivuniemi can do. Again, he and Logan Oren tied for P2 in the driver's standings. It's really just a story of consistency versus great and horrific luck. Logan Oren has had at least one DNF due to incidents. I believe Koivuniemi able to finish each race he started. Jenson Randall, the movement up the grid continues. He sets another fastest lap. This one will say representative, the 1:14.5. It's now Sandro Dulis in front of him. Really putting the pressure on here now. The long looping turn 3, a good opportunity for Jenson Randall to get the overtake done. He's on the inside of Dulis. And it looks like he will indeed get it done. That right-hander, he's going to have the inside already. So Jensen Randall up into P6. The Aston Martins about to find themselves together on track like they do so often. Jensen going to get another overtake done, going into 6 and 7 here. And there might be nothing scarier for most drivers on this grid than Jensen Randall having fresher tires than you. He's going to be able to get more grip, more braking power here on turn 10. And now he's caught back up to his teammate, Alexei Koivuniemi. So P3, P4, P5, that is your top three in the driver's standings, although in reverse order. Jensen Randall, the points leader. Sandro Dulis gets the overtake done on the mediums over Pablo Baz behind. We'll go back to Pablo Baz. Just briefly, but Jensen Randall going to get the overtake on his teammate. Purple Sector 1 for him. Gets the overtake coming into Repsol, and now turn 5. That's a quick 6 that can be avoided. And we'll see what Jensen can do coming in and out of turn 9. There will be DRS available on this straight. There you see Nicolo Falzaresi, Eric Helgersma, Logan Oren, Jensen Randall going for the inside. Logan Oren has to go wide. It's a tough turn 10 even without trying to go on the defense. But Jensen Randall's able to do it. Logan Oren definitely compromised on that turn 10. Kept it together, but now finds himself over a second behind Jensen Randall. Not much you can do there. Jensen Randall is just storming through the field. You see the Dutch driver, Elgersma, going on the defensive. Jensen's going to go on the inside and has the line for the overtake. And now it's only Nicolo Falzaresi in front of him. So what a restart for Jensen Randall. Nico does have 12-lap-old tires, though. So it could be that, it's not even it could, it's definitely that these two are on different strategies. I think a lot of the drivers still out there on their tires from the start. Why wouldn't you assume there'd be another safety car? There were 2 in the first 5 laps. But things have settled here. And now it's Jensen with the advantage. And Nicolo Falzaresi going to need to find the right time to pit. Jensen just all over the rear wing of Nico, and now this is going to be a good overtaking opportunity. DRS open, a big braking zone up here at turn 1. You see the flashing light of Nicolo Falzaresi, and no fight put up. I don't blame him. It's Jensen Randall, your race leader yet again. Lap 14, just under the halfway mark at the Spanish Grand Prix. Most of these drivers, I think, hoping for a one-stop. Jensen gonna have to make at least 2, but the safety cars have been kind. Sandro Dulis here behind the Alpine of Tim Ventink. Ventink, the tire advantage, you see only 6 laps old compared to Dulis' 13. The Red Bull a little farther back of Nick Van Gelder. Looking at the AlphaTauri of Jesper Limpinen and the Williams of Christian Dorman. We'll see what these three are getting up to here in the battle for P8. Coming around turn 12 is Nick Van Gelder. Gonna have DRS. As will Jesper. Can he get the overtake done on Christian Dorman here? DRS open. Looking to the inside. Is he going to go for it? Should be easy. Yes, indeed. Not much Dorman could do there. Does well to keep Nick Van Gelder behind him at least. And Jesper Limpinen up into P8. Sky Schundemeyer, you see there, into the pit lane. So the first driver during full speed racing to pit, I believe. That's my mistake. It appears Pablo Boz also did the lap before. But the race is starting to evolve here. Jenson Randall has increased the gap to nearly 2 seconds. So if you're Nicolo Falzaresi, at what point do you dip into the pit lane? Now Algersma, 2 seconds behind Nico. His tires will be screaming even more, being that it's medium compound. Nico going to stay out. Algersma does indeed go in. So we'll see where Algersma comes out. And the gaps have started to give everyone a little bit more breathing room. People starting to pit. Tim Ventink in the Alpine, about a half second behind Logan Oren. That's about as close as it's going to get right now. Logan and Nico 15 laps on their 16th now with the hard compound. I feel that Logan is always one of the more aggressive drivers when it comes to tire compounds, willing to take those big risks. Tim Ventink, tire advantage here. DRS zone does have it open. It can be dangerous on turn 10, as we've seen already, to go for the overtake. Such a strange curve, strange speed, and strange exit. But Ventink going to be well positioned here into the long straight where the start and stop line is. We'll see what he can do. DRS is open. And you see that gap decreasing. I don't think it's going to be enough to get the overtake. But Ventink will continue to put pressure under Logan Oren. A little farther back, the battle continues between Nick Van Gelder and Christian Dorman. 30 laps between their two sets of tires. Dorman pitting for wing damage during the first safety car, also got a fresh set of tires. That being the difference you see in the lifespan. And behind them a bit, it's Pablo Boz and Sandro Dulis now battling. Dulis had just come out of pit lane. Those hard compound tires not going to be up to temperature. Pablo Boz should be locked in and going to have more grip. Pablo really tucked in behind Sandro Dulis. They'll come around turn 9. This will be a DRS zone. Pablo Boz certainly going to have DRS. There you see, it's open. Will he go for it? No, he won't. I like it. Smart move. Dulis, fresh tires. Don't want to put him under too much pressure on a turn that's not a conventional overtaking zone. Especially when you should have it here, coming into the straight after turn 14. There you see the wing open. Trying to get into the slipstream of Dulis. Sandro going defensive, trying to break the toe. Pablo Boz still not able to get it done, but still putting Sandro under tons of pressure here. Joran Maricic, I think that might even be the second speeding in the pit lane penalty for him. Exit a little compromise there for Pablo Boz. Sandro going to pull away slightly. But in this section, I think Pablo Boz will have the advantage. That quick exit of 7 into 8 will have DRS. So, if nothing else, Pablo Boz able to keep the tires alive, charge the ERS. He and Sandro kind of on an island here, just the two of them. Although Jesper Limpinen, you see looming in the background. It was about 5/10 we saw Pablo Boz behind Dulis last time at this point. Sandro using the ERS as the gap actually increases for Pablo Baz, even with the DRS. But I'm sure the ERS for Pablo Baz close to full, just biding his time. Near the top, that's Logan Oren in front of Tim Ventink, who we're on board with. Coming around turn 10, Tim Ventink trying to stay within DRS of Logan Oren. Logan Oren, 18 laps on the hard compound. He and Nicolo Falzaresi certainly going for the one stop if they can do it. We'll see if either one chooses to pit. Yes. Nico will blink first. He goes in. As always, Logan Oren says, I'll do you one better. We've seen Logan Oren do this frequently. Always willing to stretch the tires one more than those around him. Koivuniemi also on the same strategy. Meanwhile, it's a VSC as Sky Schundelmeyer will DNF on the exit of turn 8, it looked like. So, very unfortunate for Nicolo Falzaresi. He will pit just before the VSC. At the same time, Logan Oren, Alexei Koivuniemi, Christian Dorman, the great benefit of being able to pit now without losing nearly as much time. As under VSC, the speed is limited. Drivers must meet the delta time. So the pit lane penalty, not so much a penalty, but the time needed for a pit stop, functionally reduced. Of course, I say that, but we might be racing full speed again. The VSC already over, even though we had quite a few drivers receive speeding under VSC penalties. I wonder if Logan Oren, like me, missed that the VSC ended, because he's now finding himself 7 seconds behind Jenson Randall. And he's still on those 20-lap old hard compound tires, while Koivuniemi and Christian Dorman have pitted. So what that means is it's Tim Ventink, the winner of the Spanish Grand Prix last year with SRL, who now finds himself threatening Logan Oren, whose tires must be at the absolute brink of their lifespan. So Logan Oren and Tim Ventink on the podium last year here in Barcelona. And it must be Tim Ventink's favorite track with the performances he's put in here. Koivuniemi coming out of the pits on the soft compound. That'll be interesting to watch later. Ooh. And again, turn 12 nearly claims another. Nice recovery from Tim Ventink. And he's going to be in P1 here as Jenson Randall and Logan Oren have pitted. So Tim Ventink going to lead a lap here at Barcelona. Nicolo Falzaresi improves the fastest lap time to a 1:13.2. So Nico even pitting just before that VSC. In good position here. Kind of a strange, unconventional undercut on Jenson Randall and Logan Oren. As always, Logan Oren aggressive with the tire strategies, going to the soft compound. Jenson coming out on the mediums. But well done to Tim Ventink, the man who will lead lap 22 at the Spanish Grand Prix here, season 9, round 9 of SRL. It is the Dutch driver in the McLaren, Eric Elgersma here. He's going to try and keep Jenson in sight. Hope to have DRS, but Jenson, the tire advantage. And just the quickest man on the track usually. Tim Ventink ducking into the pits. That should be his last pit stop of the day necessary. So it's Nicolo Faltarezzi now, your race leader. Jensen's tires only 2 laps fresher than Nicolo's. So barring any additional safety cars, VSCs, we'll see what Jensen can do. 2.5 seconds, very doable for Jensen Randall to make up. And just in the course of speaking about the possibility, I feel like he's gained a 10th. So we'll keep an eye on the timing table there. Jensen Randall, you see Algarisma behind him. I mentioned last lap, I'm sure Algarisma was hoping to stay within DRS range, but Jensen Randall on those tires, it's already 2.5 seconds. We started with a full grid. You see quite a few DNFs now. Jura Maricic, Sky Schundemal, Jamie Airstrom, George Wilkes, Luke Smith, Vincenzo Torre, Dion Stahl, all unable to complete it. The majority of the drivers out there will get some points today. Although exactly what the podium is going to be, I would argue you've got 6, 7 strong contenders for only 3 spots. Nicolo Faltarezzi, Jensen Randall, Eric Algarisma, Logan Oren, Sandro Dulis, Tim Ventink, Alexei Koivuniemi. We've seen some combination of all 7 of those battling for one of those top 3 positions. Certainly possible for anyone here to have a strong finish. But it's been a race that's claimed quite a few drivers. Jensen Randall has narrowed the gap to 1.8 behind Faltarezzi. He'll have 9 laps to get some more work done here. It is Logan Orend who has reduced his gap to Eric Algarisma from about 5.5 to now 3.3 on the soft compound. So both fresher tires and softer tires going to have way more grip than the Dutch and the McLaren. Coming around Repsol curve here. Now down to under 3 seconds. Even Brito has done well to catch up to Jesper Limpinen in the Mercedes. These two, it feels as though frequently having some sparring matches during SRL. Always clean, always respectful. As you see coming around turn 7 and 8. Even Brito going to have the DRS here. But we haven't seen too many drivers go for any sort of overtaking opportunity on turn 10, just because it is a funky exit there. But he will have an opportunity coming into the straight after turn 14. And we'll see if even Brito can get it done. And don't worry, we're keeping an eye on the gaps at the top of the table. Brito looking for a toe here, going to have DRS open. And it looks like there it is. Nice and easy into turn 1. Even Brito, P8. Meanwhile, Dulis fending up Tim Ventink. DRS zone coming up after turn 9, which our 2 drivers are approaching now. Will Tim Ventink be the first one to go for and stick an overtake here on turn 10? He will not. We're going to go to Jensen Randall here because we are on the DRS straight after turn 14. He is in DRS range. You see Nico's light flashing, the ERS close to empty for him. So now with 7 laps remaining, Jenson Randall looking to get the job done here. These two have really pulled away from the rest of the pack. Eric Helgersma now 9 seconds behind Jenson Randall, and Logan Orend has reduced the gap from 5.5 to 0.3 behind Eric Helgersma. So suddenly a lot of battles here. Tim Ventink got the overtake on Sandro Dulis. There's a car stopped on the track in Sector 1, but it looks like for now no safety car. Which is good. We want to see full races. We want to see Jenson Randall perhaps go for the overtake here in the DRS straight. I think it should be quick and easy for Jenson Randall. As we start lap 28, Jenson Randall retakes the lead over Nicolo Falzaresi. Slightly fresher tires, going to have a lot more ERS after being in the DRS and tow of Nicolo Falzaresi for the last few laps. And almost simultaneously, it's Logan Orend getting the overtake on Helgersma, but he has to go off track into turns 1 and 2, does Helgersma. Logan had the pace. He had really tracked him down. But a little messy, a little contact there on the exit of turn 1, entry of turn 2. Logan Orend back in a podium position. The Haas driver in the soft tire compound. 10.5 seconds to catch up to Randall and Falzaresi might be a little too much with 5 laps remaining. So Ventink has increased the gap over Sandro Dulis, and now it's Koivuniemi looking to catch the Greek driver in the Ferrari. We'll have DRS here. We're going to be able to close that gap considerably after turn 14. So many points on the table today. So many drivers going to be able to get good finishes if they can keep it clean the rest of the way. Koivuniemi down to 0.3. The soft compound, 8 laps old for Koivuniemi. Dulis 12 on the hard compound. We saw drivers go 18, 19, 20 on that compound earlier. We haven't gotten as much data with the softs. The new full-time driver for Alfa Romeo, Noah Rosso Abbia, looking to get the overtake done on Nick Van Gelder in the Red Bull. They're coming around Repsol into turn 5, big braking zone. No dive bomb. We're playing online, but not online like that. And as that happens, Jenson Randall was briefly overtaken by Nicolo Falzaresi. Probably in turns 1 and 2. If you take the inside on turn 1, you'll be outside going into turn 2, so sometimes the timing table makes it look like more activity than there is. 3.5 laps remaining here in Barcelona. The track just under 3 miles long. So about a half marathon left of racing. Randall and Falzaresi have essentially made this a 1v1 for the rest of the race. Logan Orend and Eric Helgersma also having their own battle. Sandro Dulis and Alexei Koivuniemi also having their own battle. So many battles happening separately from all the other drivers here. Aston Martin's involved in a lot of them. A lot of points here for the Aston Martins available. Dulis, he lost it there in qualifying. He's kept it clean and kept his cool during the race. And it's Nicolo Falzaresi. Every time I move away, somehow the gaps just crumble, and he's now in first. Turns 1 and 2. Maybe it's the car setup. We'll just stick with these two for the rest of the race. But that first sector, Nicolo seems to have a setup that really benefits him, because that's where the action always seems to be for him against Jenson Randall. Falzaresi's light is flashing. The ERS perhaps gone for him, and Jenson Randall going to have DRS here himself. Going to be able to build that battery. Jenson always been very good at managing the last few laps of a race. He seems to know when to go for that last overtake and how to make it stick. Certainly he's going to have the ERS advantage here as we have 2 laps to go. 6/10 for Jenson Randall to catch Nicolo Falzaresi. Can he get it done? Logan Oren looks to be comfortably on the podium in P3. Jenson Randall out of turn 3, coming into turn 4. There you see Falzaresi in front of him, that light flashing. You can't see how much ERS Jenson Randall has, but for the sake of not giving our drivers information they wouldn't normally have, I won't say it. Into turns 7 and 8, early on the power. Going to be a DRS zone. Jenson going to be able to really put the pressure on Nicolo here. I don't think he'll go for the overtake. Ooh, Jenson. A little snap there, and has that given Nicolo the race here. 1 lap to go. Jenson Randall. You saw a little snap of oversteer, and Nicolo Falzaresi jumping all over that. No DRS here for Jenson Randall. He's going to have to use that ERS if he wants to make any moves here on the last lap, but it might be too little with only 2.5 miles or so to go here. So Nicolo Falzaresi, the Italian driver, staying cool despite seeing that green Aston Martin behind him. And now, barring a mistake from Falzaresi, it looks like it's his race. But if anyone can capitalize on your own mistake, it's going to be this man, Jenson Randall. And now Jenson has used all his ERS. So 6/10 to Nicolo. I'm not sure Jenson Randall's going to have enough tarmac to do it. Logan Oren there in P3. He's quite a ways away from these two, but coming around 2 more turns. It's turn 13, 4/10 for Jenson Randall. It'll be turn 14 for Nicolo Falzaresi. While Jenson will have DRS, it's not a very long straight, and it's going to be Nicolo Falzaresi by 4/10 over Jenson Randall. What a last few laps there for those two. The AlphaTauri of Jesper Limpinen had been a lap down, so his race is complete in P11. Logan Oren in P4. El Kagersma, great race for him. I believe it's only his 2nd SRL race. He'll finish P4. Koivuniemi and Sander Dulis had battled here for the last few laps. P6 and P7 for those two. Pablo Baz in the Haas is going to finish P8. Some good points for him. Ivan Brito in the Mercedes, P9. Some points for Ivan Brito and Christian Dorman, P10. Going to be the last of those finishing in the points. So what a race for Nicolo Falzaresi, Jenson Randall, Logan Oren. Certainly a podium that makes sense if you've been following SRL races. Those three always seem to find themselves near the top. But we will have a bit more separation. So Nicolo Falzaresi, his 2nd win of SRL Season 9. I don't think it'll affect the driver standings for him quite yet, but he'll certainly be making moves towards Yearstrom and Freya Balai. Freya Balai not able to race today. So the Italian driver for Alfa Romeo in P1, Jensen Randall in P2, Logan Ornd in P3. What a race it was. And I'm sure the Falzaresi fans in chat, bravo Nico, Forza Nico. He's done it again, 26 points for him, fastest lap. Well done for him. That'll do it for SRL until the new year, round 10. Going to be the Dutch Grand Prix. So many of our drivers going to be racing in their home Grand Prix at Zandvoort. But today, Forza Nico. A great job from Jensen Randall and Logan Ornd as well. An exciting race, a clean race there for the back half. We'll see you in a few weeks. You can find us on Instagram. It is going to be linked in the description of this broadcast. That's where you can find all the information you need. We'll catch you in a couple weeks.